Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Chief Executive Officer Matt Cain.
Good morning, everyone. On behalf of the company, I want to give you a special welcome to Couchbase Connect. It's just an honor to be here today, and it's a fantastic treat for us to be in this great city of New York. Believe it or not, we have over 1,400 people registered for this event. In the room and throughout today, we have over 400 of you, architects, CIOs, engineers, operations people, and joining us via the live stream, another 1,000 people from around the world, so a special welcome to all of you. Over the course of the conference, we have a robust agenda planned. And to get us going this morning, I want to talk about 4 things. The first, I want to explore the thing we call the digital world. I then want to talk about what it means to drive a business digital transformation. I then want to look at the role that customer engagement has in these digital transformations. I want to show you why Couchbase is the data platform to revolutionize your digital business. But before that, I think we're going to do a quick mic change. Is that right? Clearly, our AV company needs to upgrade their database technology. Okay. All right, so I'm going to be rolling with the handheld the rest of the time. Okay. So as we all know, the world around us is changing and evolving faster than any of us could have imagined. In fact, it's impacting all aspects of our lives. How we have fun, how we shop, how we manage our finances, how we stay healthy, how we learn. And technical change has not only enabled but accelerated a change in human behavior. And these changes are impactful. There's new realities in this thing we call the digital economy. Markets are changing, companies are changing. And again, these changes are dramatic. Let's have a look. Were you aware that 52% of the S&P 500 has disappeared over the last 15 years? I mean, think about that. If I had sat in a room just like this a decade and a half ago and told you that half of your companies wouldn't exist in 15 years, who would have believed me? Were you aware that the lifespan of a company was once 67 years, and now it's only 15? So the life expectancy of the enterprises that we're a part of are down almost 80%. I mean, think about it. How long has your company been around? How long do you think it's going to be around? And the most astonishing statistic to me that talks about this disruption is the following. By the year 2027, more than 75% of the S&P 500 will be comprised of companies that none of us have heard of. I mean, think about that. In one decade, 75% of some of the largest companies in the world either don't exist yet or are too small for us to even know who they are. Okay, so how do we look at that transition? I mean, there's 2 ways if you do it from my perspective. The first is to see this as a threat and hunker down in your existing business and to play defense. But the second is to see it for the opportunity that it is and to play offense. And if you do that, this is literally one of the biggest opportunities for business the world has ever seen. So sure, 75% of the S&P 500 is going to be new in 10 years. But that means there's new leaders, new companies, growing industries, and these are going to thrive with this market opportunity. If you're a small and growing company and you follow these numbers, you can conclude that hyper-growth can lead to sustainability at scale. I mean, if the economy can be disrupted in 10 years, imagine what that means for an opportunity for you as a business. It's unlike anything the modern world has seen. Let's put some math behind this. So going back to that 75% of the S&P 500 that's going to be completely new, if you think about the 3/4 that are going to be disruptive, and you look at the revenue those companies are generating today, that's almost $8 trillion of dollar opportunity for companies to take advantage of while they're disrupting those that aren't moving forward. And that doesn't account for anything outside the S&P 500 where the disruption is equally large. I mean, these numbers are amazing. This is clearly a disruptive time, and it spans industries, it spans geographies, And it requires that all companies build new strategies. They have to reinvent themselves. And they have to constantly be in pursuit of new competitive advantages. But these competitive advantages have to be based on technology and innovation. Now, according to experts, by the year 2020, more than 1/3 of CEOs and COOs of Global 2000 companies will have spent at least 5 years in a technology-related role. 5 years. Now, that's not about more finance, it's not about more sales, it's not about more operations, but more technology, more innovation, more digital innovation. So simply put, digital transformation isn't a choice anymore. It's transform or be left behind. It's transform or become extinct. So if you're like me, these are compelling statistics, but you may be sitting there and asking yourself, well, what do I do about this? What does this digital transformation mean for my business? Well, at Couchbase, we're focused on digital transformations. In fact, it's what we live for. We wake up every single day thinking about how we can help our customers do better in their respective markets. And because of that, we've learned a lot about what these transformations are, the change management that's required, the technologies and markets that are worthy of investment, and what businesses are doing to build lasting customer relationships. Now, more specifically, there are 3 factors that enable a true digital transformation. The first is a serious commitment by the organization to drive digital transformation initiatives. The second is a sound investment strategy, picking the technologies that are growing faster, that are going to be around for the long haul. And the third is a maniacal focus on customer engagement. Now, I want to walk through each 3 of these in a little bit more detail. The first, commitment by the organization. By the end of this year, over 70% of global successful 500 firms will have dedicated digital transformation and innovation teams. But there's another shift that's happening, and that shift is away from things that we call projects and initiatives to truly strategic imperatives. And these strategic imperatives, by definition, have to span the entirety of the company, because these investments and this new innovation has to come from different places than just IT. In fact, there's a big shift happening of technology spend outside of IT to areas like line of business. In fact, line of business spending is growing at twice the rate of IT. And because of this shift, by 2020, IDC expects that line of business technology spending is going to equal that of IT spend. So as companies are trying to figure out their competitive advantage and they grow their customer base and expand their business models, these new stakeholders are required, and companies have to be completely committed to the transformation across their company. Number 2, investing appropriately. So IDC predicts that the worldwide investment in digital transformation initiatives is going to reach $2.2 trillion by 2019. And that's up over 60% from just 2016. I mean, $2.2 trillion. That's a lot of money being poured into digital transformation. And where is it all going? Well, it turns out it's going into the technology areas that we spend a lot of time talking about. Cloud, Internet of Things, big data, and mobile. By 2020, this thing that we call the cloud shift, investments in cloud-related technologies, is going to affect over $1 trillion of IT spending alone. $1 trillion. By 2022, IoT-enabled service models are predicted to save up to $1 trillion a year around the world in maintenance and service costs. $1 trillion a year in savings. And because of this, during that time period, $2.5 million is going to be spent every single minute on IoT. And by the end of that time period, 1 million new IoT devices are going to be sold every single hour. Now, what about data? We all know the sheer size of the digital universe continues to grow. In fact, it's more than doubled every year. And that's going to add up to a 50x growth rate in business data from the time period of 2010 to 2020. 50 times more business data in your companies than existed 10 years ago. But what about human-generated data and machine-generated data? That stuff, that's actually growing 50 times faster than the traditional business data. So overall spend on big data technology is going to be 3 times bigger than the rest of technology spend. I mean, these numbers are amazing. And what about mobile? Today, half the world's population is online. And of that population, about 62% are mobile. And this is a powerful ecosystem, over $3 trillion made up of technology infrastructure, increasingly more powerful devices and interfaces, vast consumer networks, and an unlimited supply of data. $3 trillion, and some say this is still a nascent industry. All of these things fundamentally transforming our business. So, committing to change, spending money in the right areas, absolutely essential. But the reality is, any company in the world can do that. So the real battle is about winning the hearts, minds, and wallets of our customers. And that brings me to my third factor, which we call customer engagement. So how important is this third factor? Well, let's look at some statistics. Research shows that a customer who's fully engaged represents a 23% premium in some pretty important areas. Those areas: share of wallet, profitability, revenue, and relationship growth. If we look in some industries, in retail banking, a customer who's fully engaged brings in 37% more annual revenue than a customer who's not. In insurance, engaged policy owners purchase 22% more types of insurance than do non-engaged customers. And I could go on and on. There are examples across every vertical. Now, as you might expect, one critical aspect of keeping a customer engaged is something that we call delivering great customer experiences. So how hard can that be? Well, it turns out in this always on, always connected digital world, this is actually pretty challenging. Did you know that we as human beings had an attention span in 2015 of about 8.25 seconds? And that was down from 12 seconds in the year 2000. So 8.25 seconds. I asked myself, how are we doing? And I did a little research. It turns out the average goldfish has an attention span of 9 seconds. So how do we use our 8 seconds of undivided attention? Well, it turns out we do so in pretty specific ways. 91% of customers who have had a bad customer experience aren't going to do business with that company again. 89% of customers who have a bad service experience, they're leaving that brand for the competition. But what happens if your company gets these right? The benefits can be immense. Companies with a strong customer experience retain 89% of their customers, compared to 33% who provide a poor customer experience. And by the year 2020, this thing we call customer experience is going to be more important than price and product as a key brand differentiator. So, customer experiences matter. They matter a lot. But consistency of customer experiences matter even more. And that's what we call engagement. Now, the demand for the best customer engagement is exploding on a continuum with almost no end in sight. And we all know as consumers and customers that our expectations of these engagements continues to rise. And that bar is just going to continue to go up and up. And when we think about customer engagement, it's actually not just about the customer. It's about patients and clients and partners and investors and constituents and employees. And remember, companies have 8 short seconds to make a lasting impression and build a meaningful relationship. And if they don't, they may never get a second chance. So, this customer engagement thing matters a lot. Let's explore what it takes to create great customer engagement. The first ingredient is a thing we call human-centered design. Experiences have to be easy. They have to be intuitive. They have to be based on natural behavior and language and gestures. And essentially, the technology that enables that needs to be invisible to the user. The next factor is a thing we call customer-focused operations. Positive engagement has to come from a people-first orientation. Companies have to architect that from the outside in. And it's about delivering these great experiences across multiple touch points and channels. Third part, data-driven understanding. As we all know, data has to deliver insight. But that insight has to be reflected back into the customer engagement process or it doesn't do much good. So this is a constant cycle of iteration and improvement. And it turns out that this thing we call personalization becomes a foundational element to great engagement. And the final thing, technology-enabled applications. The reality is the only way to scale these engagements and deliver them at speed is to use advanced technology. And new applications are absolutely essential to engaging customers. Okay, so how does this all come together? Well, you may be sitting there thinking to yourself that the application is going to drive the digital experience. But it turns out applications alone are insufficient. See, the foundation of these engagements is the database. That's what brings this all together. It connects every touch point. It knows what just happened. It serves up the best recommendation. It's what makes the difference. Okay, so let's review. Digital transformations, they're a reality. It's change or be left behind. Companies have to be smart. They have to architect for extraordinary customer experience and engagement. And these engagements are going to rely on the database. The database is at the center of this technology transformation. And this foundation of the database is what is going to allow you to build your competitive advantage. And these competitive advantages are quite literally going to create the next generation digital innovators and digital leaders. And that's what we're here to help you become. So at Couchbase, our mission is pretty simple, actually. It's to be the data platform that revolutionizes your digital innovation. That's our focus. That's what we've built, and that's where we're going to continue to put our innovation. We're the only company in the world with a true modern data platform for digital innovation. And that's also what today is all about. In a moment, you're going to be hearing from Peter, our CMO, and Ravi, our Senior Vice President of Products and Engineering. And they're going to talk to you about how our data platform is creating revolutionary customer experiences and extraordinary customer engagement, and why that approach is simply unparalleled in the industry. You're going to be hearing from other customers who are already transforming their business and leading their industries. And you're going to hear from Couchbase experts on how the platform is built and how you can use our platform to create responsive, meaningful customer engagements. And finally, you're going to hear from some of our partners who can be a bridge from us to you with services and integrations to help you get the most out of our technology. So we hope this event is a truly fantastic experience for all of you. And we're absolutely thrilled that we're here together with all of you. Together, we can do great things. Together, we can innovate. Together, we can disrupt. And together, we can thrive in our digital world. Thank you.